Yeah, it's the Jim and Terry Show from the Hobbit Hole Studio in Bob Cajun. I'm your host, Terry, and ... fill in the blank, the empty chair in the corner, because Jim and I have not been able to get together for a couple of Thursdays, which is our coffee and chat day, set aside, inked, not penciled, inked on the calendar, sort of a sacred date preserved. And I was looking at our podcast, and the history is now January 2025 will be the beginning of 7 years worth of Thursdays. And in all of that time, we've only had our YouTube podcasts removed, sanctioned by the YouTube algorithm for saying something that I've even had to take a community workshop on community standards on YouTube. It's, a simple thing to do, but to make sure you understand the ethics of their algorithm. And as of this point, I still don't know what algorithm ethics are. I think it's a randomness. Somebody reports you concerned about a content. Usually it's involving, if you say something like a violent word, if you use this is the sad point we're at now. You can't use the words to describe physical violence, or you can't use words to describe, for instance, the attack on Israel on October 7th. You cannot use the descriptors, the actual words of the crimes that were perpetrated on the Israelis, because those are deemed to be offensive. It's getting to be so that you cannot talk about religious, if you name a religious group or individual. I guess it's bordering on what you might call slander, but it's allegations. It's in the public record. So the Jim and Terry Show often referred to the public record, and we got slam dunked with one from 2 years ago suddenly being called into question. I listened. I could not find the issue with their morality, their ethics, their algorithm standards. But who am I? I mean, it's just the Jim and Terry Show. Two retired guys talking about stuff. And because the framework is often a Christian morality standard, that's where Jim comes from, and I'm just a regular, not necessarily believer and agnostic, uncertain about things, but, we try to be careful. Don't tread on me, that flag from the Ottawa convoy thing. Those things, you can get in trouble when you mention some of these slogans. And the trouble is in the form of removal from YouTube. So there you go. That's another reason why we haven't been on lately. Flagged. The Jim and Terry Show. Two retired guys in the basement having a coffee and a chinwag. Maybe some pancakes and whipped cream. Who knows? But we are sanctioned by the algorithm. And we don't even talk about the most contentious stuff. And compared to other shows, we are a mild-mannered little Hobbit Hole studio. And yet we get sanctioned. And meanwhile, conspiracy... Oh, that's another word. You can't talk about conspiracy theories. You cannot mention the Q with the word anonymous, because that is a flag as well. So you cannot talk about these ideas that are out in Never Never Land. I'm not sure you can talk about flat earthers. So here's a test. Flat earthers, because that is also a spurious belief system. I'm doing a test of the YouTube algorithm. See what gets censored. Will this episode make it to air? Will it be struck down? Will I get a community strike? Will the Jim and Terry Show last for its 7th season, or will we be smitten? At one point, we did receive flags and strikes early on in the COVID year, 2020, and early 2021 for violating something or other in terms of community health standards. And the episode in question was one where I referred to the McGill Dirty Dozen list of fake pseudoscientists and what I would call quacks. There's another keyword. Is that going to be flagged? If you have to trip over censorship, is it really the thing that we want, a platform that allows you to speak your opinion. As much as Jim and I try to find facts and be opinion free, based opinions upon fact, otherwise we're just heaping unknowns and allegations and assertions without a foundation of fact on which to speak. Be that as it may, here we are, going on 7 years. So congratulations, Jim. I know you're sitting at home with your coffee listening. So when we get together, we will celebrate and toast. December is coming to an end. Christmas is coming. We had our first blizzard, and I was out there several times to remove the snow from the driveway and shovel the deck and what have you. Yeah, I forgot how much work that is. Makes me wonder about age and stage. Other things that I wonder about is free speech on Twitter, formerly known as Twitter, now X. I have made the proverbial exodus, along with apparently millions of others, to Blue Sky. Is it a nicer place? Is the grass always greener somewhere else? Or do you just take what you've got for granted? You don't know what you've got till it's gone. Who sang that? Joni Mitchell? Yeah, maybe Musk doesn't know what he had in Twitter until he tampered with firing 80% of the staff, making it really a platform that is only a repository of, I'm not even going to say conservative, but something further to the right than conservative, mega cult-ish. What would I use as evidence? My own experience and journey on Twitter over the past 4 years. Maybe it was 5, because it predated the rise of the first Trump administration, beginning to use it as a source of information. But it began to be apparent very early on that things were not going well when Musk took over. What was that, 2022? I think it was 2022. He bought it, $44 billion. Now it's down to, I think it was 78% less value now. And I'm not sure whether I read that in Forbes or The Economist, but yeah, how do you drive something into the ground? You understaff it, you underservice it until it becomes whatever you wanted it to be. But it wasn't a place of exchanging ideas. It was a place of bitterness, of anger, of rage. And you could always tell if somebody posted one idea, you knew it was going to be trolled to death by people who were angry. And as we've learned, a lot of those things were Russian bots. So whether they're Russian, Indian, Chinese, who cares? The bots on Twitter were awful, and being trolled is awful. But being trolled can happen on any platform, regardless of what you say. It happens on the Jim and Terry show once in a while, when we present something that is maybe controversial, maybe actually something worth thinking about. And you get the doom and gloom naysayers, the people who know everything, who would rather tell you how wrong and how mistaken you are, rather than point out where you can look at other things that might increase your understanding of their position. It's usually just shoot from the hips or shoot from the lips, whatever the case may be. So there's a few of those things out and about the Jim and Terry 7th year approaching. Worthwhile? Well, it's always worthwhile when you gather with friends. Is it always comfortable? Certainly not. And I'm not sure that life is supposed to be comfortable at all times. Pierre Berton's book, from which I used to regale against, I've come to appreciate the wisdom in it. The comfortable pew. When things get too comfortable, perhaps you need to look at what you're doing and become more uncomfortable. Shift in your seat. Maybe choose a different seat, one that's less comfortable. Get rid of those padded pews. Do you remember the days when they used to have padded pews? No, you don't. I attended a few that had padded seats. Yeah, the definition, the epitome of a comfortable pew. Life is supposed to be a little bit messy, I think. It's not supposed to be clearly defined. It's not supposed to be easy. And it's not supposed to be comfortable. It's in the unease. It's in the discomfort. It's in the experiences that cause you to wonder about the frailty and vulnerability of life, in which I think the most joy can result. Of course, you've got to go through the darkness to come out the other side. There's all kinds of adages, all kinds of wisdom, all kinds of popular sayings, witticisms, aphorisms, things that make you appreciate life in a few words. Summing it all up succinctly, these things are worth putting on a plaque, putting on the side of a mug, putting on a bumper sticker, things that help you define your view on life. Sometimes it's simply, life sucks, exclamation point. Well, it can be at times, and it sure does feel that way at some points. The other thing to be mindful of is that these aphorisms, these succinct 3-word things like axe the tax, not to get too political, are just easy things to remember for the simple repetition of things. Repetition makes it easy. Things in 3 are easy to make rhyme. They're easy to stick in your brain. So for people who don't care to ponder these things deeply, axe the tax is easy to just repeat. Drop it in a conversation. Axe the tax. Do you know what it means? Do you know the carbon tax is recommended as the best way possible to move forward on alternate technologies for energy, whether that's EV or other, to reduce, mitigate, somehow sequester carbon dioxide, number one identified human source of climate change. Unless, of course, you don't believe the science. That's a different story. And sometimes conservatism is one to look at life from a rather box situation where stuff is on the inside, comfy and cozy. Stuff that you're afraid of is on the outside, and you snap against it. You don't like it. You use your Alex Jones voice to rage about it. And you end up, usually, like Alex Jones, paying for a lawsuit, saying stuff without evidence. Evidence. Yeah, that's where we come from. Jim and Terry Show, talking about stuff with evidence. This is just a teaser podcast just to get back in the groove. Jim is coming. Stay tuned. Bye-bye for now.